First topic is labor law reforms, right? So during this corona time, because the production has been stopped for the industries, now to revive those industries, the government want to give some relaxations. As a part of those relaxations for the industries, government has relaxed labor laws, right? Various state governments have relaxed their labor laws. Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, right? Many states have relaxed their labor laws. So this has created a controversy between, on one side, promoting industries by relaxing labor laws, on the other side, employees' security, workers' security, right? So this has made a controversy. So in this context, we have to know what are these labor law reforms, right? So first of all, we have to know that with respect to prelims, labor falls under the concurrent list, right? Labor falls under the concurrent list. That means both center and the state governments can make laws and legislations on this subject. That is the first thing we have to know. And the second thing is, as of now, there are around 44 central labor laws and around 100 state labor laws. Broad idea how many laws are there. And now these 44 central labor laws, the central government is trying to reduce them to 4 legislations. This is called codification of labor laws, to reduce the burden on the industries and also for better implementation of the labor laws. So many laws are being consolidated into 4 laws. That's called codification of labor laws. So these 4 are, first one is Code on Wages, second one is Code on Industrial Relations, third one is Code on Social Security, and the fourth one is Code on Occupational Health and Safety. These 4, the first one is Code on Wages. So right, it tries to bring out minimum wages for the workers. That is the first thing. Second thing is industrial relations. Like if there are any disputes between the industry management and the workers, how should be the scenario? How should the trade unions be organized? All these things come under the Code on Industrial Relations. Third is Code on Social Security. That means pensions, insurance, accident coverage. All these social security to the workers will come under this Code on Social Security. Here for the first time, social security is being extended to gig economy workers and platform workers also. Gig economy workers and platform workers. What are these gig economy workers? Gig economy workers are nothing but freelancers. They don't have a particular fixed contract between them and the company. They are not the regular employees. They are not employed in the regular fashion, right? They are called freelancers. That means in their free time and also in an unofficial way, they will be trying to work for the company. They are called gig economy workers. And also platform workers. Platform workers means those who use an online platform for their livelihood. For example, the Ola, Uber, the cab drivers, they are platform workers, right? They are using a platform called Ola or Uber for their livelihood as a job, right? So for the first time, these gig economy workers and the platform workers are also being given this social security. So that is Code on Social Security. And fourth one is occupational health and safety. If there are any accidents in the industries, and also what should be the minimum guidelines, basic guidelines for safe work conditions, all these come under this code, right? So these are the 4 codes, and I also suggest you to find out more important points in these 4 codes, which will be useful for you. I have tried to cover some important points. And now coming to the organized sector and inorganized sector labor. We can broadly divide the workers in our country into organized sector and unorganized sector. Unorganized sector means those sector of workers who don't have much benefits to good wages or good pensions or insurance facilities. Right? These are called unorganized sector workers. Now, with respect to prelims, we have to know which are in majority, organized or unorganized. Around 80% of the workers are unorganized sector workers, right? This clarity we have to build up. And also, with respect to laborers, there is another survey that is conducted called Periodic Labor Force Survey, PLFS, Periodic Labor Force Survey. This basically tries to estimate the labor force participation rate in the country. Means how many people are unemployed, how many people are actually working, what is the labor force potential in our country, how many women employees are there, how many men employees are there, how is the unemployment scenario in the rural area, how is the unemployment scenario in the urban areas. All this data will be compiled in this periodic labor force survey. This is basically a survey of the labor force. Now this is done by NSO, National Statistical Organization, NSO, and not Ministry of Labor and Employment, right? That we have to know. So periodic labor force survey, though this is about laborers, this survey is done by NSO and not Ministry of Labor, right? These small things we have to be careful. And this measures labor force participation rate. That means how many people in the working age are willing to search for jobs and willing to work for the jobs. Right? That percentage is called labor force participation rate. That is also given under this periodic labor force survey. So this is all about labor law reforms. It falls in the concurrent list. Both center and state can make the laws. Codification of labor laws is going on. Wages, industrial relation, social security, occupational health and safety. 80% unorganized sector workers and periodic labor force survey by NSO and labor force participation rate. The second topic is Champions Portal. Champions Portal. There is a portal launched recently called Champions Portal. What is this Champions Portal? This was launched by Ministry of MSME, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. So this portal is basically launched by MSME Ministry with the objective of technology-driven MSME sector development. Technology-driven MSME sector development. What actually happens here? First, to tell the full form of this Champions Portal, it is creation and harmonious application of modern processes for increasing output and national strength. Creation and harmonious application of modern processes for increasing output and national strength. Don't worry, it will be given in the notes also later. So this is the full form of Champions Portal, MSME Ministry for technology-driven MSME sector development. Now we might have heard about hub and spoke model. It's just like the wheel of a motorcycle or wheel of a bicycle, right? A hub will be there in the center and spokes will be there. So this development is basically decentralized development. That means there will be a central agency, and under that central agency, many branch agencies also will be there, right? A decentralized way for developing MSMEs. Hub and spoke model is followed. So the main office is in New Delhi and many offices will be there in the rural areas and the urban areas, right? What they do is they will identify the potential MSMEs which can be made national and global level industries, right? Through this hub and spoke model, through this Champions Portal, the government is trying to identify potential MSMEs which can be made global and national level industries, right? So that is the use of this Champions Portal. And the three objectives is supporting MSMEs, exploring new opportunities for MSMEs, and promoting MSMEs. These are the three objectives. How does this support the MSME? By giving them finance, raw materials, labor, etc. Right? So supporting MSMEs is one objective of this portal. Second thing is exploring new opportunities. For example, if we observe the present scenario, PPEs are very much important now. Masks are very much important now. Medical devices, medical equipments are very much in demand now. So these areas can be explored and suggested to the existing MSMEs to produce these things, right? These are some areas which can be suggested to the MSMEs so that they can make good production and profits in these areas and sectors, right? So in this way, Champions Portal helps the MSMEs to explore new areas also. The third thing is promoting MSMEs. Potential MSMEs by this hub and spoke model are identified and they are given necessary inputs to make them global and national level MSMEs, right? This is the Champions Portal. So for prelims, we need to remember it is launched by MSME Ministry. This is for technology driven MSME sector development. Hub and spoke model is used for supporting MSMEs, exploring new opportunities and promoting MSMEs to global and national levels, right? And the full form also. So this is the Champions Portal. The third topic we are picking up is Garud Portal. Garud, G-A-R-U-D, Garud. So Garud Portal is basically launched by Ministry of Civil Aviation. Ministry of Civil Aviation. What is this Garud Portal? Garud Portal is for facilitating, that means for facilitating COVID-19 related drone operations. We all know about drones, right? Drones are aerial vehicles. That means vehicles which can be flied and can be used for various purposes. It can be used for transportation. It can be used for surveillance. It can be used for monitoring, right? It can also be used for border management, right? So various ways drones can be used. So Ministry of Civil Aviation is the ministry which takes care of the drones, which regulates the drones. That is the first point we have to know, right? In India, the ministry which facilitates and regulates the drones is the Ministry of Civil Aviation. This Ministry of Civil Aviation has also launched a drone policy also, national drone policy also, right? And I request you to get into further details of the drone policy also. And under this Ministry of Civil Aviation, DGCA, Directorate General of Civil Aviation, this is the body that regulates drones and drone policy in India. But however, in the present scenario, if we try to give permissions to the drones by following all the rules, it will take time. So rather than doing that, because of the COVID-19, the government has brought a portal called Garud Portal, by which it will fast track the registration of the drones, right? It will fast track the registration of the drones so that in a faster way, drones can be used rather than waiting for the government's permission. For that purpose, this Garud Portal was launched, right? So Garud Portal, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Directorate General of Civil Aviation, National Drone Policy, and this portal is for COVID-19 related drone operations. This is the third portal. And the fourth topic which we are discussing is Equip Program. EQUIP, Equip Program. So what is this Equip Program? This is basically to improve the quality and accessibility of higher education in India. That means actually to improve the quality of higher education in India. So this is the Equip Program's overall objective. And this is an initiative of Ministry of Human Resources and Development. It's an MHRD initiative. That is the second thing we have to know. The third thing is education is a concurrent list. This also we have to keep in our mind. Education is a concurrent list. That means both center and the state can make laws on this education subject, right? This is something which we have to know. And this Equip program is a 1.5 lakh crore action plan for 5 years, from 2019 to 2024. In these 5 years, with 1.5 lakh crore action plan, government is trying to improve the quality of higher education in India. That is the overall objective of this Equip program. So 8 targets are kept under this EQUIP program. We need to have a broad overview of all these targets, right? If at all any options come under the EQUIP scheme, we should be in a position to identify which are the targets and which are not the targets. So the first one is doubling the gross enrollment ratio in the higher education. This is the first target. Doubling gross enrollment ratio in the higher education. Second target is resolving geographically skewed access. That means previously geographical inequalities are there. Rural areas, remote areas, tribal areas, they can't get the quality higher education which urban areas people get. It is difficult for them to access. To solve that problem is also a target under this EQUIP program. The third one is achieving global standards in higher education. Achieving global standards in the higher education. That is the third objective. Fourth objective is at least 20 Indian institutions should be in the top 100 global rankings. That is the fourth objective. Fifth objective is promoting employability related academic curriculum. Employability related academic curriculum. That means teaching students in higher educational institutions should be in such a way that it brings them good employment opportunities after they graduate. Promoting employability related academic curriculum. And the sixth target is internationalization. Increasing the foreign students ratio in our college, increasing foreign faculty ratio in our college, and collaborating with foreign colleges for research. All these should be increased, and internationalization of our higher educational institutions is also a target. And better accreditation. What is accreditation of higher educational institutions? Accreditation means registration and certification. We know the present problem in our higher education system is mushrooming of universities and colleges. Mushrooming means number of colleges and universities are coming up in our country promising that they will offer higher education, right? We have number of colleges and universities in our college, but standards are not up to the mark. Only few institutes are able to provide standard and quality higher education. In order to make sure all the educational institutions have minimum standards, better accreditation is also kept as a target under this EQUIP program, right? And the last thing is tech-driven education, technology-driven education, online education. That area or that domain is also being focused by government a lot, because by online education, we can reduce the inequalities between rural areas and urban areas. The main problem in rural areas is low teacher to student ratio. Teachers are not there, abundant teachers are not there, skilled teachers are not there, right? In the rural areas, no one is willing to set up good schools and colleges in the rural areas. So one way to solve that problem is by promoting online education. So all these are targets. So EQUIP program, MHRD initiative, Human Resource Development Ministry initiative, education is in the concurrent list, 1.5 lakh crore action plan, 5 years strategy from 2019 to 24. Improving quality of higher education in India is the overall objective of this EQUIP program, and the 8 targets which we have discussed, right? So this is EQUIP program. And the fifth topic and an important topic for today is 2 important bodies that were set up in ISRO. First one is NSIL, New Space India Limited. This is one body that is set up under ISRO. The second one is InSpace, INSPAC, InSpace. So this NSIL, New Space India Limited, and InSpace, these 2 bodies were set up last year under the ISRO for promoting private sector participation in the space sector. For promoting private sector participation in the space sector. So if we see the present scenario, ISRO completely owns the space sector. Who manufactures the launch vehicles? It is ISRO. Who develops the technology for launching vehicles? It is ISRO. Who launches the vehicles? That is also ISRO. Now who makes deals with other countries? That is also ISRO. If any other country wants to send their satellites, ISRO is taking care. No, all these functions are being done by ISRO. Rather than going by this way, ISRO should only focus on research and development, right? It is Indian Space Research Organization. Manufacturing of vehicles, right? And also making deals with other countries. All these should be given to other bodies. ISRO should only focus on research activities. With this motive, New Space India Limited and InSpace bodies were set up, right? To take up some activities of the ISRO, so that burden on ISRO will be less and it can better focus on research and development. So first we'll start with New Space India Limited. So this is located in Bangalore. This is a commercial arm of ISRO. This is a commercial arm of ISRO, commercial wing of ISRO. Now, why is it called a commercial wing of ISRO? Because the main function of New Space India Limited is commercially utilizing the research and development activities of ISRO. This is the main function, commercially utilizing the research and development activities of ISRO. Right? How does it do? If ISRO finds out a technology, like how to cheaply manufacture launch vehicles, then what this New Space India Limited does is, it commercially uses the technology and gives it to the private companies so that they can improve manufacturing in the space sector, which the private companies could not do before, right? In this way, the technology, the research and development efforts which the ISRO is keeping, that will be commercially utilized by this New Space India Limited. And also this will promote private entrepreneurship in space related technologies, right? This will promote private entrepreneurship in space related technologies. For example, India has developed a technology and successfully launched a mission to Mars. It's also trying to launch another mission on the moon, right? It's also trying for Gaganyaan mission. Now also it does some technology demonstration also. Landing, soft landing, rover technology, orbiting. In this way, many technologies ISRO will be working. Now those technologies can be commercially sold to private companies, right? So that they can manufacture those. That is basically the essence of New Space India Limited. Commercially utilizing research and development of the ISRO, right? And basically this focuses on manufacturing and production. Manufacturing and production of launch vehicles by technology sharing from ISRO, right? ISRO will share its technology with the private companies. Then the private companies will also have the technology, right? And then they can manufacture this. In this way, private participation is improving, and also at the same time, burden on ISRO is decreasing. That's why this New Space India Limited was brought. And also another objective of New Space India Limited is to capture the global markets. To capture the global markets. That means if any other companies, space agency companies need any subsystem components, if they need any components for the launch vehicles, if they need any good efficient components, then our private players will sell those, right? In this way, it wants to capture the global markets also in a better way. So this is New Space India Limited. It is located in Bangalore. It is the commercial wing of ISRO. Its main function is promoting entrepreneurship, manufacturing and production of launch vehicles and other components by technology sharing from ISRO. This is the overall objective, and it also wants to capture global markets in a better way. This is New Space India Limited. The second body is InSpace. This was recently set up. InSpace, INSPACE. This is Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. Now, this is basically a interface, a single point interface between ISRO and the private companies. It tries to promote private players in the space sector. It gives hand-holding and guiding support to private companies in the space sector, right? This is the overall objective of InSpace. Now, NSIL focuses only on manufacturing, entrepreneurship and production. But InSpace it allows private companies even to explore the ISRO's space resources also. Right? If ISRO has kept a communication satellite somewhere in the space, if the private companies are willing to develop something by using that communication satellite, then InSpace will be facilitating it. Right? If they want to use the ISRO facilities for more research and development in the space sector, then InSpace will be taking care of it. Right? So in this way, InSpace is different from NSIL. NSIL is only about manufacturing production, commercially utilizing research and development of ISRO. InSpace, welcoming private sector to use the ISRO space resources, right, for better research and development. So InSpace is one body, NSIL is one body. These two's overall objective is promoting private sector participation in space sector, right? Now, for the commercial operations, even before New Space India Limited came, we already had an organization in ISRO called Antrix. There was already an existing body for commercial operations of ISRO that was called Antrix, right? This was there before itself. Then why again New Space India Limited was brought as a commercial wing? So we need to know the difference between Antrix and NSIL, right? Because they can give two options, one about NSCL and another about Antrix, by jumbling the functions. They can give the function of NSCL to Antrix and they can give the function of Antrix to NSIL, right? We need to be careful. What is the function of each body? So Antrix body's function is handling ISRO's commercial deals for satellite launch, right? Handling ISRO's commercial deals for satellite launch. If any other country wants to launch their satellite as a part of our PSLV, then Antrix will be taking care. If any other country wants components for their satellites or launch vehicles, then for the manufacturing, NSIL will come into picture. If any other private company wants to use the ISRO's resources for research and development, then InSpace will come into picture, right? So these are the three broad functions of these bodies. NSIL for manufacturing and production, InSpace for promoting private people in space sector, Antrix for satellite deals of the other countries, right? These are the three functions of NSIL, InSpace and Antrix. Now NSIL and InSpace are in the news. So UPSC might ask about Antrix, right? We don't know what it will ask. So Antrix is something which people might leave and only study about NSCL and InSpace because they were in the news. But what if it asks from the Antrix? We have to know that also. So these three are the bodies, and these three bodies were set up primarily so that ISRO can focus on research and development, and the other activities like manufacturing, business, etc. can be taken care by this NSCL, Antrix and InSpace, right? So to reduce the burden on ISRO, these bodies were brought, and to improve efficiency. Stockholm Convention, Basel Convention, BASCL, Basel Convention, and Rotterdam Convention, ROTTERDAM, Rotterdam Convention. So these three conventions, we have to know how are they different and what they deal with. We have number of conventions in environment. We'll take them up day by day, one or two at a time. So today we'll take these three conventions, right? So first we'll start with Stockholm Convention. Now as we are preparing for prelims, we need not know into entire depth of Stockholm Convention, right? The important points we have to know. So Stockholm Convention is for phasing out persistent organic pollutants. So Stockholm Convention means the first thing which we have to remember is persistent organic pollutants. What are these persistent organic pollutants? Those pollutants which stay in the environment for a longer period of time. Persistent means they'll stay for longer time, and they are pollutants. So the chemical pesticides which we use in the fertilizers, the various chemicals which the industries use, all these chemicals, among these chemicals, there are some chemicals which stay in the environment for a very long period of time. right? They are called persistent organic pollutants. So this Stockholm Convention is for elimination, restriction, and reduction of this persistent organic pollutants, right? Elimination, restriction, and reduction of this persistent organic pollutants. Now here we have to be careful. Stockholm Convention does not talk about all the organic pollutants. This convention is only about persistent organic pollutants. That is the first thing we have to know. Second thing is, this convention talks about elimination and also restriction and also reduction of this persistent organic pollutants, right? So it has 3 lists. One list is for elimination. So all those in the elimination list have to be eliminated. Second list is for restriction. That means these pollutants can be used in a restricted way. Need not be eliminated, but have to be used in a restricted way. Third list is for reduction. That means their use must be reduced. Not eliminated, but at least reduced. So in this way, 3 lists are there. And why are they harmful for us? Because they are persistent organic pollutants, they stay in the soil for a longer period of time. Usually some of the pesticides which the farmers use and the fertilizers which the farmers use, they are chemically dangerous and they stay in the soil for a longer period of time as they are persistent. And as they stay in the soil for a longer period of time, it gets into the food chain. Humans consume this food and these pollutants enter into human body also. And this is impacting human health and also environment, right? So that's why these persistent organic pollutants are said to be harmful and a convention was brought. Bioaccumulation and biomagnification of chemicals is taking place. As I have told before, bioaccumulation means a chemical, a foreign chemical entering into a human body or entering into any animal body. That is called bioaccumulation. Biomagnification means the amount or concentration of that chemical is increasing as we move to the upper food level chains. That means there is a fruit, there is a plant, the soil is impacted by the organic pollutants. Then the fruit also will have that chemical. Say that fruit has some X amount of chemical that is being consumed by animal. Now the chemical is entering into the animal. That is called bioaccumulation. Now that animal is eaten by human. That is called biomagnification. Concentration of the chemical is increasing, right? So bioaccumulation and biomagnification, these two are important because simply they can confuse us with the definition. They can give the definition of biomagnification for bioaccumulation and they can give the definition of bioaccumulation for biomagnification. We need to be careful, right? So also you also refer to these definitions once in the net also so that you can get a better clarity. And under the Stockholm Convention, dirty dozen, there is a term called dirty dozen. Dirty, D-I-R-T-Y, dozen. So these are 12 chemicals, 12 dangerous chemicals that were prohibited under the Stockholm Convention. These are called dirty dozen. And now there are around 30 chemicals in this list. Earlier there were only 12, but after various amendments, now around 30 chemicals are there in this list. This also we have to know. And mostly these persistent organic pollutants are pesticides and industrial chemicals, right? This is the Stockholm Convention. So Stockholm Convention, persistent organic pollutants, they stay for longer periods, human health and environment is being affected, bioaccumulation, biomagnification, dirty dozen chemicals related to Stockholm Convention, and elimination, restriction, and also reduction. All these 3 are there under this convention. Not only elimination or not only prohibition. And pesticides and industrial chemicals are part of the Stockholm Convention. This is about the Stockholm Convention. The second thing is Basel Convention. Basel Convention talks about transboundary movements of hazardous wastes and disposal. Transboundary movements of hazardous waste and disposal. For example, the usual thing which used to happen before is developed countries, all the hazardous waste that is produced in the developed countries, they used to sell it and dump in the underdeveloped countries. In this way, developed countries used to get rid of their dangerous hazardous wastes, and least developed countries and underdeveloped countries, they used to get affected because of this hazardous waste. Now to stop that, this Basel Convention was brought. So this Basel Convention is about transboundary movement of hazardous wastes and disposal, right? This convention tries to control the transboundary movements of hazardous wastes and their disposal. So what are some objectives? Reduction in such hazardous waste disposal. Now the developed countries can no more dump as much as they want into the least developed countries. And also this convention talks about environmentally sound disposal of this hazardous wastes, right? This convention talks about disposal of this hazardous waste in an environmentally sound manner. That means in a manner which has less impact or least impact on the environment, right? So this is Basel Convention. So Basel Convention, control on transboundary movements of hazardous wastes and disposal, and reduction in such waste disposal, and scientific management of the waste disposal. This is Basel Convention. Now Rotterdam Convention. Rotterdam Convention is about prior informed consent for trade of hazardous chemicals and pesticides. Prior informed consent for the trade of hazardous chemicals and pesticides. Now this is about if any one country is selling some hazardous chemicals to another country, then both these countries should have prior informed consent. That means if country A is selling these hazardous chemicals to country B, then country B should be informed by country A about all the dangerous effects of these hazardous chemicals. Only after that the chemicals have to be traded. That is the meaning of prior informed consent. So Rotterdam Convention is about prior informed consent for international trade of hazardous chemicals and pesticides, right? So prior informed consent means information should be exchanged. If a dangerous chemical is being transported, the origin country has to tell to the destination country about all the things about that chemical. Only after that trade has to take place, right? So this is Rotterdam Convention. So Stockholm Convention, persistent organic pollutants. Basel Convention, transboundary movement of hazardous wastes. Rotterdam Convention, prior informed consent for trade of hazardous chemicals, right? These three are almost the one and the same, but with slight differences. That's why we need to know these three, because they can say Stockholm Convention is for hazardous waste disposal. That is wrong. Stockholm is for POPs, persistent organic pollutant, and Basel is for hazardous waste. But Rotterdam is for hazardous chemicals trade. Both are about hazardous chemicals only, but one is about waste disposal, other is about trade, right? Here also they can confuse us. So clear-cut clarity should be there about these things. The next topic is biojet fuel. Biojet fuel. Now biofuels are in the news for various reasons. The government is giving a significant push for the biofuels. So as a part of that, in 2018, in the year 2018, India has launched its first biojet fuel powered flight. Right? In the year 2018, India has launched its first biojet fuel powered flight. That was done by SpiceJet, right? From Dehradun to Delhi. Those details are not that much important, but yeah, we have to know that in the 2018 year, India has launched its first biojet fuel powered flight, right? So in this context, we have to know what is this biojet fuel. Before getting into biojet fuel, we have to know that aviation turbine fuel is the fuel for the flights, right? Flights don't run on petrol or diesel, but they run on aviation turbine fuel, ATF. It's called ATF, aviation turbine fuel. Now in this aviation turbine fuel, 10% of biofuel is being blended, right? In this aviation turbine fuel, 10% of biodiesel or biojet fuel is being blended into this ATF. This is biojet fuel, right? So how is this biojet fuel made? This biojet fuel, the 10% which we are mixing in the ATF, this is made from jatropha oil seeds. Jatropha, Jatropha. So jatropha oil seeds. These jatropha oil seeds are used, and an oil is made out of this jatropha oil seeds, and this oil, which is also called the biojet fuel, is added to the ATF, aviation turbine fuel. This is called blending. So in 2018, India launched its first flight. And this jatropha seeds, they have the potential of 35% non-edible oil capacity. This also we have to know. So the seeds of this jatropha plant, they have the potential of producing 35% non-edible oil, right? That's why they are very important. And India is the first developing nation to do this. That's why it's very important for us with respect to prelims. India is the first developing nation to do such thing, right? The blending of biojet fuel with aviation turbine fuel, and then launching a flight which is running on this biojet fuel, right? That is a significant achievement, and first developing nation was India to do this. And which is the institute or organization that manufactured this biojet fuel? That also we have to know, right? It is CSIR IIP. CSIR IIP. Indian Institute of Petroleum it is, right? Indian Institute of Petroleum. This is there in Dehradun. So this CSIR, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, this you might have known. So CSIR IIP, Indian Institute of Petroleum. This was the institute which manufactured this biojet fuel, right? This is located in Dehradun. So because they can simply say biojet fuel recently seen in the news, one option will be it's made out of jatropha oil, that we know. Second option can be it is manufactured by ICAR or ICMR or CSIR NEERI Institute. It's wrong. It is CSIR IIP, Indian Institute of Petroleum, right? So this we have to know. So now some important benefits out of using such biojet fuels is, first, as we know, it is an eco-friendly fuel. That is the first benefit. Second benefit is it reduces the country's dependency on oil imports, right? The aviation turbine fuel which the flights are using in India, that is actually produced from the crude oil only. So crude oil we are importing. So by blending this biofuel, we can reduce our dependence on crude oil imports. So it reduces the import bill. And the third thing is energy security, right? India is able to develop alternative to crude oil. We are able to develop alternative to petrol, diesel, aviation turbine fuel by developing biofuels, right? So whenever we have an alternative, we have energy security. We are not completely dependent on only one source of fuel, right? So energy security is there. It reduces the import bill, and it is also eco-friendly fuel, and also it gives some employment generation also. This is nothing but opening a new area where employment generation scope is there. This way, this is about biojet fuel. So biojet fuel, first flight launched in 2018 in India by SpiceJet, Dehradun to Delhi. Biojet fuel, 10% of it is blended with aviation turbine fuel. Flights use aviation turbine fuel, and it is made from jatropha seeds which have 35% non-edible oil capacity. India is the first developing nation to do this, and this biojet fuel was manufactured by CSIR, Indian Institute of Petroleum, which is there in Dehradun. And some of the benefits are eco-friendly fuel, reduces import bill, and energy security, right? So this is about biojet fuel. The next topic is microplastics and single-use plastics. This is also a very burning issue which we can see in the news every time. So we'll better cover this also. So it is microplastics and single-use plastics. So first we'll talk about microplastics. What is the definition for microplastics? Very small plastic pieces of size less than 5 millimeter, right? Very small plastic pieces of size less than 5 millimeter. This is the definition of microplastics. Now, how are these microplastics? Why are they becoming an issue? Because the disposal of plastics into oceans is increasing. Year by year, tons and tons of plastic waste is simply being dumped into oceans and waters, water bodies like rivers, seas, oceans, etc., lakes, etc., right? Because of this dumping of plastic waste, and two phenomena. One is sunlight, and the second is the waves in the ocean. Because of the action of the waves and because of the sunlight induced erosion, this plastic is degrading into small particles, right? Plastic is degrading into small particles because of wave action in the oceans and sunlight induced erosion. And microplastics are generating. These microplastics are very small that it is sometimes even difficult to be visible for the naked eye. So what is happening because of this? It is being consumed by the marine aquatic life. It is being consumed by the fishes, right? And we are consuming that fish. So plastic is getting accumulated in humans also. So this is dangerous to human health, right? And also another interesting or shocking thing that was observed is in the Arctic region also these microplastics are there. Now we are dumping the plastics in the oceans. Microplastics are there in the oceans. These microplastics are getting evaporated along with water into the clouds. And these clouds are taking them to the Arctic regions also in the form of snowfall, right? So such dangerous consequences are there because of these microplastics, right? So that's why with respect to prelims, we need to know what is its size. It is less than 5 mm, very small plastic pieces. And basically because of sunlight induced erosion and wave action, microplastics are getting generated. These are also even being transmitted by clouds. And even in the snow regions also, even in the uninhabited regions, that means humans are not there, but still we can find microplastics there. Right? This is about microplastics. Now we'll discuss about single-use plastics. What are these single-use plastics? Single-use plastics, as the name itself suggests, it is one-time use disposable plastics, right? One-time use disposable plastics. Now it's difficult in the near term to completely remove plastics, but at least we have to try to reduce the single-use plastics because these can be used only once. They can't be reused. For example, the plastic bags, the straws which we use, the coffee stirrers which we use, right? The small sticks we use to stir the coffee, the soda bottles, food packaging, all the food packaging stuff, all these are made of single-use plastics, right? We can't use them twice or thrice. We can't reuse them. Directly they have to be recycled and only then we can use. So these single-use plastics are generating a lot of waste, right? A lot of waste is because of this single-use plastic, because we can't use more than one. So we simply have to throw this waste. So India has kept a target of phasing out single-use plastics by 2022, right? Phasing out single-use plastics by 2022. That's why we have to focus on the single-use plastics, right? What are some of the single-use plastics I have told you so that you can have some clarity, and what is the definition of the single-use plastics, that also we have covered, and some important things with respect to plastics we have to cover. First is Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, right? There are a set of rules called Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, right? So under these rules, a lot of guidelines were given to the central government, to the state governments also, regarding how to dispose the plastic waste, how to manage the plastic waste, right? In the 2016 year itself. Just go through them, go through those rules, and if you find anything important to prelims, just note them down. But this is one area where you have to focus. And two important terms are there which we have to know. Not only with respect to managing plastic waste, but also with respect to managing electronic waste also, or paper waste, anything, two terms are very much important. One is PPP, polluter pays principle. Polluter pays principle. What is polluter pays principle mean? Those who is polluting has to pay for it. The person who is consuming the plastic and disposing it in an unscientific way, he has to pay for it. That is called polluter pays principle. If the polluter pays principle is strictly implemented in India, then waste management will be easier in India. Right? Sanitation also will improve in India. Right? This is called polluter pays principle. Right? Polluter has to pay for what he has done. The second term is EPR, extended producer responsibility. EPR, extended producer responsibility. Right? This term was asked last year prelims also, which I have appeared for. There they have said extended producer responsibility was recently incorporated in which of the following rules? One was solid waste management rule. Second was electronic waste management rule. Third one was plastic waste management rule. And fourth one was some other option. Right? Most of the people kept plastic waste management rule, but that was wrong. Extended producer responsibility was still not included in the plastic waste management rules. Right? The environmental ministry is still in negotiations whether to include this EPR in plastic waste management or not. EPR is included in electronic waste management rules, e-waste management rules, right? This one point we have to know. Last time they have asked in prelims, no, what is this EPR? What is this extended producer responsibility? Extended producer responsibility means those companies which produced the plastics, it is their responsibility to take care of disposal of this plastic waste also. That is the philosophy of extended producer responsibility. Say a company has sold a product that is there in plastics to an individual, right? It is responsibility of that company to ensure that plastic waste is collected properly, segregated properly, and disposed properly, right? So this is putting a responsibility on the producers of plastics, not the consumers of plastics, right? Polluter pays principle is putting a responsibility on consumers of plastic. This extended producer responsibility is putting a responsibility on producers of plastics, right? So this is about EPR, extended producer responsibility. So these two terms we have to know. So microplastics, 5 mm, less than 5 mm particles, why they are produced, sunlight and waves action. Even in Arctic regions also they are being found. They are being carried by clouds also. Single-use plastics, one-time use disposable plastics. This is the reason why a lot of plastic waste is getting generated, because we can use them only once. India also has a target of phasing out single-use plastics by 2022. Now be careful with these years also, because sustainable development goals are till 2030. This is till 2022, right? So if they say phasing out single-use plastics by 2030, that is wrong. 2022 is our year target. Plastic waste management rules, go through them also. If you find any interesting points, note them down. And polluter pays principle is one term we have to know. And extended producer responsibility also another term which we have to know. Right? Extended producer responsibility is still not included in the plastic waste management rules, but it is included already in e-waste management rules. Right? Environment. There is an article about Punjab farmers. Punjab farmers using direct seeding technique. Now, because one issue which you might have studied about in Punjab and Haryana is stubble burning. After harvesting, there will be leftover small pieces of plant which they have to remove, right? If now, rather than doing that, what the farmers are doing is they are directly putting the rice seeds there itself. Without removing the previous plant stalks, they are directly putting it. Just go through that article, because direct seeding technique is important with respect to environment. And also there is another topic which is called Hagia Sophia. There was a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Turkey which is revolving in news since 3 to 4 days. It is Hagia Sophia. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Turkey that's being converted from a museum to a mosque, right? So get some details about that also, because directly they can ask Hagia Sophia recently seen in news, and 4 options can be given. So we have to know about that. And the third important topic is the Rajasthan defections which are about to take place, right? 30 MLAs trying to move away from the ruling government to other party. There is a headline article. So try to go through anti-defection law, the 52nd constitutional amendment, 91st constitutional amendment, what they have done, right? Go through all these things. And recent Supreme Court judgment also. There was a Supreme Court judgment on Manipur Assembly regarding defections. Go through that also. And also there was a Supreme Court judgment today on SC/ST quota and disabled people quota. Supreme Court said that disabled people are also socially backward like SC/ST people. So they also have to have the same reservation benefits. So just go through that judgment also and see if you can get any points with respect to prelims, right? Go through the entire reservations policy, Indira Sahani case, Nagaraj judgment case, right? All these cases. So these are some topics which I just want to point out them so that you can study them for prelims.